Welcome, everyone, to episode 10 of Taking Over. I am Chris Perish. Yeah, that's right, that 10. The numero 10. That is French for 10 because I am somewhat bilingual in terms of numbers. And over here is my co host, pretty much the shining part of Taking Over, the natural Astrid Pizarro. Astrid, how are you?
I'm a little tired, but it's an exciting day for me, so I'm just gonna keep it that way. But yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Ooh. Can you expand?
Maybe a little bit later. I'll say the thing.
Ooh, ooh.
Yeah. But
We
how are
could
you
have
though?
breaking news on taking over. I am doing
Yeah.
a little bit of all right. I'm great. I'm back in the mobile community with a working or mobile phone again, so that's great. It's always nice to have proper communication in life. That's something that I love for sure. But yeah, I also love NXT, and we had a great show today. But first, I also love a great active chat. And right now we have a great active chat. We have my brunch busting brother, Bobby Munson. Hello and good evening, my good friends, Perish and Astrid. How was NXT tonight? NXT was phenomenal. It was great. And then the bosses are welcome, everyone. So you got to be on your best behavior. We got Ed Fries. It's taking over time. You are damn right. It's taking over time. And then we have Turnbuckle Studios. Carl, what up to you? We got Bazzer69. Nice. Saying hey guys. And then we got in the hot seat with the beautiful emote that we have because we are stylish here at our local establishment with emotes and all that good jazz. We all Astrid or Ed also coming in. Is Astrid and the Shining Stars? Does she have hotels to sell us? She's not Monopoly, bro.
I thought about a lot of
And then Bobby coming in, two perfect tens in 1 week for Parrish. Yeah, we don't have to go into any other meanings to the word or phrase perfect 10, but we can go. Oh, we got Barry Monkey 99. Always a great handle. Fantastic. Hello, everyone. I'm just waiting to see if anyone can explain the new match format idea. And then we have Ed coming in. No, Epico and Primo, the Shining Stars. Well, I know Carlito was one, as I was on a show recently with him just a couple weeks back. But needless to say, Barry, we will definitely answer this a little bit later as we get to that, but we will definitely let you know. Um, yeah, I'm very excited for that one. But speaking of excitement, how excited were you to watch NXT? What were your primary thoughts already?
Well, we only had what 2 matches advertised beforehand, so I was excited for the women's, not for the guys, unfortunately. But it is what it is. Um, yeah, it was alright for me. It was not as fantastic as it was for you. It couldn't keep my attention the way I hoped, at least for the first hour. So yeah.
In the Hot Seat podcast, already excited to talk about the end of NXT.
Yes.
Yeah, that was definitely an ending, but I mean, just like it's been for a while. NXT, the main event, always seems to be producing something worth talking about, and I appreciate that. It definitely keeps you on the tip of your hot seat, as you will, near the end of the episode. But yeah, no, right away, we got one of those advertised matches, as you said. We had Von Wagner versus NXT champion Braun Breaker coming out. Um, Very surprised to see this start off the show. But at the same time, very happy they did because I was very happy that they gave the spotlight, the main event, to Mandy Rose and Alba Fire. So that was something that I was very happy for. I was actually somewhat impressed with Von Wagner in this match, to be quite honest. I did not expect that to be a thing, but I actually liked the fact that he used Robert Stone to get that early advantage. He seems somewhat smart. This is the most I've seen him feel comfortable in a ring. And for whatever reason, him and Braun somehow they seem to have chemistry. I know this wasn't necessarily your favorite match or a match you were looking forward to, But your thoughts on Von Wagner challenging for the NXT Championship?
Yeah, I was glad for him because we only had him do that once, so at least. Hey Leo, and happy birthday, by the way.
Yeah, happy birthday. Gonna have to maybe bring you a monster at the next Love Pro Wrestling show. How about that?
Mm.
Let me know what flavor you want.
But yeah, I was glad for Vaughn. It's nice to see him in the ring and show some kind of improvement against Braun. So that end of it, I didn't mind it. It just and they have chemistry. They couldn't keep my attention, unfortunately. I wish I would have, but I didn't.
Yeah, I was very curious just to see Von Wagner in there. As a right, I'm saying that Barry Monkey, get Von Wagner out of the way early. It's nice for the fans; they can enjoy the rest of the show. And then I'm saying, "Ooh, monster in the house." Now I might have to attend.
So
See, I know how to attract people. It ain't with this. It's apparently with my wallet. But needless to say, uh, I'm not the biggest Von Wagner fan, supporter. However, I do want to see him succeed. I do want to see him become somebody we can talk about and can add to a show because I want NXT to succeed. Um, However, I also know that it's not his time right now. There are definitely many people above him that I'd rather see in that position. But I still thought that this was one of his better performances, and I thought this was one of his more comfortable performances in the ring. And because of that, I actually think there's progress with Von Wagner, and I do think I have a little bit more patience with him. I don't want him to talk, though. His ability to speak is something that still sucks, in my opinion. And I think this is where you need somebody who can speak for him.
That is not Stone. Let's clarify that.
No, budget cut him now, please.
So
Come on, Nick Khan. I know that you still know how to budget cut someone. I know that wasn't just a pandemic thing. Um, Perish selling out the house with his thick wad. We're just going to leave it at that one, Ed. Speaking of which, we'll get to Mandy Rose for you later. Bobby, I'm telling you, change his name to Von Wagner and you will instantly become a bigger star. Well, his ceiling wouldn't be any higher if that was his name. Barry. Okay. What is going on over there? What is
no,
all that
that's not me.
banging?
That's you. That was on your end.
There's nothing banging in here. Trust me. Von Wagner and Braun Breaker need to form a tag team. The charismatic vacuum. Yeah, maybe they can add Zoe Stark to that one. But yeah, no, Braun does get the win. Very over dramatic win with a spear. Man, he really needs. He does a great spear. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But who hasn't been doing a spear in WWE lately? We need to find something else for him.
Also, it reminds me of Roman. So just like you want to get away from kind of reminded you of another world champion. Just kind of get your identity there.
Yeah, and then you also have Edge doing that as well. So, I mean, I don't know how many people really need to use the same move on that. But yeah. So anyway, I did make the note that I very much liked Vaughn being aggressive in this match and kind of using somewhat of a his tactics a little bit. He was actually somewhat smart in this match. But then Braun was able to use his agility and his speed to capitalize on his power, pretty much that explosiveness out of his thing. So I actually like that aspect. And this kind of takes us to a plethora of promos. I think we counted 5.
I think so.
I'm going to just throw to you. How much did you like all these promos?
It's like I don't mind them, but don't do them all in a row. You have to do some kind of
Yeah.
break in between there. Like I know they do. We don't like it when they do the match or the entrance and the commercial, and then we go to an interview. But either that, or if you can, put them as digital exclusives after the show. But too many in a row, just like okay, I heard somebody talking. I need some action and happening here, please. And I feel like that's why I maybe why I felt like the first hour dragged for a little bit, and it just didn't keep my attention the way I hoped it would. The second hour was better for me.
Yeah, and I do feel like because I know we were talking about how this first hour just seemed to be prolonged and not a lot really capitalized, and I think that has to do with the amount of promos we got right away. And let's just start right in. We got a kind of a video package with Alba Fire, kind of promoting the match she has later tonight with Mandy Rose, pretty much telling and kind of capitalizing the history that she's had not only with Toxic Attraction but with Mandy Rose herself. Just kind of giving you that feel.
Mhm.
And I think you and I both got that feel that we're like, okay, there's something going here. Alba Fire, okay, maybe a new champion. I think this is kind of what we were feeling. Um, so that was kind of like nice, but I mean, I feel you can easily steer away from those kind of promos the day of the matches to
Mhm.
emphasize kind of the promos elsewhere because I think we already all know, or at least play that at the beginning of the show before you actually start the show.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, and then we see Zoe Starr kind of have that arrival to the building, only to see Braun's Breaker kind of selling in the back with his championship and have JD McDonough come in and say, "Congrats, champ. By the way, you know that you and I, we're never going to be finished, right?" As he then walks off, kind of inclining and indicating that, him and Braun Breaker still have unfinished business. I'd like to know what that is because Braun Breaker has beaten you twice now.
I guess
I
that
love JD McDonough,
yeah.
but where do you stand with him and the NXT title? Because I feel he's been written out.
It is. I feel like even if it was triple threat matches, he's had already a few opportunities, and it'll be nice to see somebody else get that opportunity now instead, and just kind of keep building him up to like maybe be a contender sometime afterwards. But at the moment, it'll be nice to see somebody new and just have somebody step up. We had so many people last week mentioning Braun and the championship and taking it away from him. So it'll be nice to see one of those people get that spotlight instead.
Yeah. Do you kind of feel that he's like NXT's Dolph Ziggler in a way? Like he's always push and push, but they never really, you know, like pull the trigger with him. And then even I'm assuming that even if they choose to do that, it might be a small sample size into kind of what we could have gotten, but I don't
Hmm.
know. So we have gone. We have that comment on for way too long. By the way, that's my bad. But yeah, and then we get to another one where Zoe Stark comes to the ring for a promo, and I don't know about you, but I think Wendy Chu's gimmick of just sleeping all day kind of really came into play here. She said a lot of stuff. I don't know how much of it really mattered. The fans just chanted, "Zoe is angry. Yeah, Zoe is angry." And she kept saying she wasn't angry.
Hmm.
But I think if she was angry and showed a little bit more fire in that promo, there may have been more out of it. Let's kind of like, I don't know. Let me think. Like, what did you think about this promo? And was this the best thing for Zoe right after a heel turn?
First, I didn't like the part of like her kind of giving like I told you over here watching it, and she just goes, "Oh, we had a meeting, and it was when the during the tournament for the women's tag championships, and then they kind of put me with Nikita, so just like she made it seem like her and Nikita were assigned to work with each other, not like it kind of built up together the way it always seemed. Since they started teaming up, they started saying that Zoe was helping Nikita through her injury, and that's how they got together as a team. So I feel like now that goes out the window with what Zoe was saying tonight. That's the first thing. And the way she said, "Oh, I had to carry Nikita on my back," and I'm thinking Nikita can carry herself. She doesn't need you to carry her on her back. So that didn't make a lot of sense to me either. And it just like it seems she just had something rehearsed because it didn't seem like her emotion was in like part of this. And not only that, but she started going at the end. It was kind of quiet at first. I feel like she had no reaction from the crowd, which is surprising for Zoe. But then when the crowd started chanting that she was angry, she said, "Well, I'm not my bad angry," and she started going with the "you people" line. That's when she got the reaction out of them, and it was more towards the end. So I feel
Mhm.
like it was too late to get that reaction, and it's like, come on, Zoe, you could have done more than like that "you people" line that most people do. You could have done better than this. I feel like, yeah, it makes sense for her to do the promo just to explain her actions last week, but this was not it for me though. She could have done so much better.
Yeah, I think this was a clear example of you don't always have to say every little detail about what happened to get to the point. And sometimes, if you want to get to the point, the best way to do that is to kind of say everything without saying everything, if that makes sense. Like just able to take like a paragraph and make it one sentence. And if you're able to kind of get your point out, you've done something right. Um, yeah, I just think the longer this went, the worse it looked for Zoe. She gave a little bit of anger, some passion near the end of this promo, but I don't know. Like you really need to just get to that point a little quicker, because I do feel that if she was angry, you probably would have got more out of it.
Mhm.
On top of that, like her voice did not carry over the people, and I think that was something that was very lacking in the promo as well. Um, but yeah, someone that doesn't lack into getting their voice heard is Andre Chase, and that kind of takes us to the next promo, where he is in the back, kind of at a desk, and Duke Hudson comes in, and the only thing that he has on his mind is asking Duke, "Why did you throw in the towel?" And then Duke said, "Well, it's because I saw that you were in pain, and I know you don't know the meaning of the word quit. And if you go down, Chase you goes down, and we just can't have that. So I threw in the towel because I bleed these red and black colors of Chase you." Um, so it was kind of a okay. Didn't exactly see this sort of loyalty coming
Mhm.
around. Um, then Thea does come out, and he even gets up. Gentleman gives her the chair, and even Thea's like, well, he's this guy's grown on me. So another weekend, and this is a perfect example of not having to do a heck of a whole lot to get
Mhm.
progress. Your opinion on Duke Hudson this week, part of Chase U, his explanation of throwing in the towel, and I know you just want to talk about Thea more, so floor is yours.
No, I think it was like you said, something minimal. It was something very simple, but it got to the point. That's what mattered in this promo more than anything. I like how it keeps reminding me of. I think it was last week. Yeah, last week after the match when they got or the week before when they got attacked, and Duke was helping Thea and was helping Chase. He was winking at Thea like it was something like he had planned out, but it was like he had some kind of ulterior motive to it. So I thought that was interesting with the wording that he said today to Chase as well. I was like, I wanted you to live another day. I didn't want Chase you to go down. So I like the simple little things like that. Even the lines were simple. It wasn't over the top or complicated, and it got right to the point. It was entertaining for me.
Yeah, and I think what it does, it allows you to get a little bit more emotionally invested in every detail about this. And there's layers now. There's that dynamic between Duke and Chase. Then there's the dynamic between Duke and Thea. Then there's the dynamic of Thea and Chase as well. So, and then on top of that, it's okay, is Duke really playing them, or is he actually
Mhm.
committed? So there's a lot of layers to this going on, and I think that is something that was lacking with Bodie Hayward prior. I don't think you got that, even though he didn't have that history of can you trust him or not. But it just adds more emotional investment into what's going on right now, and you don't need a feud. You don't need somebody to kind of bring that in. You can do it internally, and this is very, very much like Sami Zayn and what he's doing with the Bloodline right now. So, um, yeah, I think NXT you've really hit a really good thing right now So keep that going and don't overdo it, because what you're doing is perfect right now. And then we kind of get Veer and Sagna kind of getting ready for their match, and they don't do anything. They're just sitting on a table. They get up and they're about to walk out, and this takes us pretty much right to that tag match, Indus Sher versus people we didn't exactly know or see. The names ended up being Ariel Dominguez and George Cannon. Um, Obviously, this was more of a somewhat squash match, but a put over match for Indus Sher, and they looked very impressive, actually. Very dominant, very their chemistry was really good. And the last time I saw them, I didn't see their things being as uh, tight and as clean as it was today. So very good progress. I thought they made a good statement, and I feel that they are now a force in the NXT tag team title picture. Opinions on Indus Sher?
Yeah, I just feel like it just, like you said, it brings them to the top of the list in the tag team division. So that's interesting to have somebody new in a way to the fold, especially with the teams that we have now versus who they had before. So yeah, I'm really enjoying having them together and their chemistry. I think it was really well done.
Yeah, and right after this match, we see the Creed brothers kind of watching this on that
Hmm.
broadcast, and they kind of just have that. Okay, well, they called us out last week. I mean, clearly there's some brewing between the Creed brothers and Indus Sher now, and now we're kind of seeing the Creed brothers' reaction, also confirming that they are done with Damon Kemp.
Hmm.
There's closure on that, and now it looks like it's going to be Indus Sher versus the Creed brothers. And then we get Tatum and Tatum Paxley and Niall coming in, kind of just telling them like you're kind of focused on these people, but you shouldn't really. Like you're focusing on the wrong thing right now. And the Creed brothers kind of just see it one way right now. Your thoughts on just the dynamic right now inside the Diamond Mine between the two duos right now on kind of the vision of where the Creed brothers are?
It just, I don't know if it was me, but I felt for the first, not I think for the first time probably in a while, that they were not having the same focus. And I felt
Mhm.
weird to me with them because I feel like usually Ivy supporting them no matter what they do. So it was weird to see her the way she reacted with them. So I thought that was interesting. And again, where the heck is Roddy? We saw him at the hospital and just forgot about the hospital. Is somebody gonna pick him up? What the heck happened there? I just want to know, please.
Yeah, and I guess kind of the bigger picture is Roddy really still with the company, and a big
Mhm.
thing. It's funny because despite everything that Diamond Mind has been through without Roddy right now,
Mhm.
he still seems to be a nail missing. So it'll just be very interesting to see the dynamic of Diamond Mind if Roderick Strong is to return into that capacity. So I'm also very curious on that, but at the same time, I am very much looking forward to the direction that the Creed brothers do have, because I do think this is a better build for them in the tag team
Mhm.
division. Before they were the tag champions, I think this is by far the most amount of times we're able to kind of see them and kind of roll with them. Whereas before, they almost felt a little too forced. Um, so yeah, no, I'm interested in a tag match. These guys are going to beat the crap out of each other.
Yes.
Speaking of guys that don't pull punches, we then get JD McDonough against Apollo Cruz. But right before this match, we had Braun Breaker and Apollo kind of in a segment, and Apollo's kind of like, "Hey, I know what you're thinking. You just had a match, but watch what I do tonight," and kind of just take that in. And yeah, this probably is already going to be my match of the night, because I thought these guys just, they didn't give us everything they had, but they definitely gave us a lot.
Hmm.
And it shows right away that these guys are two of the better in ring performers on NXT. And this was definitely, I thought, the blue collar match of the night. Um, I really liked a lot of the little things we saw. Apollo Crews ended up getting the win, and we were both very shocked, probably because we haven't seen JD McDonough lose a lot of non-title matches lately. But it was very good to see Apollo get on that way. Kind of want to see him up against Braun eventually, I think. But yeah, what were your initial thoughts on Apollo not only winning that match, but also JD McDonough losing?
Yeah, like I said, I was super shocked about it because we've seen JD the last couple weeks just take over, no pun intended, to his opponent and just injuring them and kind of putting them on the shelf. And the way this happened, I was not expecting him to do that to Apollo, but I wasn't expecting Apollo to win either. So I was very shocked about that part of it because I kept thinking they want to keep JD where he is and they don't want him to lose. But they had like great spots in this match as well that kept me so interested. They had a part that I think was JD was on the apron and Apollo just did like a standing moonsault to get away from him. And when he caught him and just threw him on the commentator table, like that just like kept me like my attention the way he did. But yeah, I like the chemistry between them. I was just surprised overall with the way it turned out because I was not expecting this.
Yeah. One thing you can't expect there is great products from Rogue Energy. And if you go to rogueenergy.com and use the code word OLEPOD, you can save 10% off your order. They have an amazing amount of not only a starter kit with free samples of amazing flavors, a bunch of flavors, and you can get different variations of your not just cups. And but they also now have Rogue Energy cans, drinks available there for you. You can also get good swag, as I rock my Rogue Energy hat right now, but you can get much more, whether it's shirts or hoodies. Go to rogueenergy.com and use that promo code OLEPODS to get 10% off your order. And do it as soon as possible because they are just waiting to ship that order to you as soon as possible. And what better way to go rogue than right now, people? Ball coming in. Shirakawa special. I hope I didn't butcher that. I am terrible on that stuff. Shirakawa. Is that better?
Yeah, to me at
Yeah, I don't
least.
know. But yeah, no. I don't know about you, but I definitely would like to see another match between JD McDonough and Apollo Crews. I think I would be more okay with another match between these two right now than another match between uh, JD and Braun.
Mhm.
However, I also kind of want to see Apollo and Braun. I think those guys would do some good stuff
Yeah.
together. And Melba, you did good, Perish. You did good. Thank you. That brings us to another promo, and this one I kind of like because it also is a teaser for what we are to expect next week. Wendy Chu kind of calls out Cora Jade a little bit. She calls her salty. Says there's things that she said that were true, things that she said that were true. She hadn't been called some of those things since high school. And if you saw her facial reaction, Zoe, you might want to keep a little bit of an eye on this one. That's how you get people invested in what you're doing. You're showing that emotion on your face because she had kind of a teary eye almost a little bit to show that
Mhm.
yeah, the stuff in high school, she didn't like that. So now she has a little bit more added added vengeful, maybe not vengeful, but an added I want to kick your ass kind of mentality of going towards
Mhm.
Cora Jade, and then that is something that we will see next week on NXT. But now that we're seeing the next step with Cora Jade, seems to be Wendy Chu. Wendy Chu's getting that next phase. Are you looking forward to Wendy Chu and Cora Jade, and are you hoping this is just a one and done, or do you want to see it becoming more?
I'm like, I don't want to say I'm torn, but it just feels like lately Wendy's rivalries have been like a one and done kind of thing. So I'm not expecting it to be too long at least. Um, so we'll see. I wonder if it's just a thing to kind of get Cora over, just so that way they have some kind of backup to just say, look, she's been beating her opponent, and that's why they put her in the Survivor match later on which is what I'm thinking they'll do, kind of like to build her up in a way, and just kind of taking into account her recent victories to put her in that match. But I don't expect it to last too long.
Yeah, I'm curious to see kind of just with Wendy Chu if this is going to help kind of evolve her character a little bit because I know, and also congratulations to her for making that main event debut, I believe, against Tamina. Very great, very good match actually. But also I want to see if there's any sort of evolvement here with her just the character and that gimmick. Because she does play it very well, but I do feel that there is, and I'm going to go back to it, more layers to Wendy Chu as we know her, and I do think given the right persons on the other side of the ring, they might be able to bring that out. And I think Cora Jade is a very good person for that because she just adds a different element in that match. And yeah, I'm very curious to see how this plays out. I know with that later announcement we got from Shawn Michaels, this could be a way of why it is a one and done, but at the same time, this could be a one match now, making it a longer feud later. We don't know. But yeah, I'm definitely very much excited for their match next week, and hopefully it's a banger. And then speaking of which, this takes us to another promo with Mandy Rose, this time with Mackenzie Mitchell, kind of a live one, a live promo. And she kind of has a Nikki Bella vibe to her, wearing the ball cap backwards, wearing kind of similar gear. But yeah, basically doing exactly what Elba Fire did, but in a live version, making sure that, kind of getting you prepared for the match. I don't think she said anything of much magnitude, but the single fact that she showcased her promo, and I'm gonna say this again because I know I said it as we watched it, but Zoe Stark, this was a promo that you should have delivered in the ring. This kind of promo, because there was little faults, if any, with that promo from Mandy Rose. She is definitely at the top of her game, the top of her confidence level when it comes to who she is, and I think that's something that Zoe Stark kind of needs right now. Did that promo kind of change anything for you in terms of preparing for their match later on tonight, or later on in the show, or did you kind of just look at it and be like, "You're gonna lose, bitch"?
I was hoping she would lose. Sorry, Ed. Not thinking about what happened in the end. The way she said, with or without her girls, the title staying with her. And now that I think about it, based on what happened at the end, it just gives us a clue that something was happening there. Like she said, like her girls were not there where somebody else was. So I didn't think about that. I wrote the line before, obviously, as the show was happening, but I didn't think about it how connected it was to what happened in the main event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we'll definitely get to that in just a little while. And then we get a kind of a comedic promo done by Javier Bernal. Wasn't really comedic based on, he wasn't trying to be funny, but he does say that he's tired of waiting for an opportunity. He's now going to be someone that goes out and seizes his own opportunity. So he's going to go out and call someone out. And the first person he calls out is Axiom, to where Mackenzie Mitchell then says, "Well, did you not watch last week? He is out with potential injury. He's not available." And he's like, "Okay, well, how about Ilya Dragunov?" Sorry, I can't even read my writing. And then Mackenzie's like, "Well, actually, he's hurt right now, and he's not available either." And he's like, "Then I'll take on somebody of Gallus. How about you pick whoever it is, Mackenzie?" And she's like, "You mean the suspended Gallus?" Yeah, they're not available either. So yeah, just kind of like something silly there where it looks like he's kind of putting on the show of acting tough, but Mackenzie kind of just kicks him in the dink right there. But your thoughts on kind of that promo, because I don't know, it kind of gave a little bit of personality to Javier Bernal that I know I kind of enjoyed a little bit.
It wasn't bad, and I'm glad, like you said, it gives him some kind of personality to his character. But at the same time, he sounded so ridiculous. Just like, I'm picking this person. Oh, they're not available. This one, they're not available. And I'm like, okay, where's this going? Really? I didn't find like a point to it, aside from him just trying to be funny, I guess. Um, but yeah, I didn't know what to think of it when it happened. But it wasn't bad on his delivery though, so I can't blame him for that though. Um, what was the part? Oh, I like when she said about Dragos. Like, he's in Germany rehabbing. I'm like, jeez, who is he gonna pick?
Well,
Um,
yeah,
I don't know
and
at this point.
yeah, and then his line was like, "Yeah, if I knew I was facing Javier Bernal, I'd hide in
Yeah.
Germany too." That was pretty funny. So I don't know. I'm interested to see how this progresses, what this does, but at the same time, if Javier Bernal couldn't have a match, he is putting himself out there in an entertaining way in some way, shape, or form, and that I can get behind progress. And that's kind of what NXT is, right? You got to watch the progress of everyone. Everyone's developing as we see it before our eyes. So it's just seeing kind of how that goes. Um, but this kind of takes us to two people that really don't need to be progressing from scratch right now. They're very polished in what they do. Talking about Carmelo Hayes and the North American champion Wes Lee, as this takes us to their contract signing. Ran and kind of dictated by Booker T, who was very confusing as to why he was involved. I understand it because I've seen Wade Barrett kind of do stuff similar, but I did like how Carmelo Hayes kind of had that swagger and making the fact that he plans on being the third time or the first ever three-time North American champion. How to him that title is still significant despite the fact that he has it. Ed, with all his sarcasm, he's a huge Booker T fan. So you got to think about this as the other way. He's like, get Booker off my TV, give me Wade back. Clearly indicating he loves Booker T, and he has no bother wanting the former leader of the Nexus back on NXT. But yeah, and then we had Wesley kind of, for whatever reason, there we go. Bear in mind, Booker T got the crowd more into the segment. He did, but I think that was still nostalgic. And I do think that, had he just allowed Wes Lee to kind of carry that a little bit more, we could have got that same out of him and for Wesley. I didn't like the fact that he had to get his shucky ducky quack quack and can you dig it sucker thing in. It wasn't about him, but he was the last person that spoke. And I just didn't like that aspect. But what I did like is that Wesley, that was the most confident I've ever seen Wes Lee as a singles competitor. He was very much an aggressor, whether it was on the stick or in the confrontation that followed after they both signed. I still want to know why Wesley took so long to sign his name, despite the fact he only has 6 letters in it. But yeah. Anything stand out for you in this contract signing?
It bothered me how Booker T was the center of attention of this. And it's like, I understand he's a legend. I understand he's the one hosting it, but if I take out or think about what you did more than what the superstars were doing in the ring, that's not it either. And it's just like, this should have been the highlight on Carmelo, and it should have been the highlight on Wesley. I shouldn't have to remember what Booker did versus what they did. And even though I remember it, but I feel I remember more what Booker T did and what they than anything they said. And even him sharing the shucky ducky quack quack moment and just like saying it so loud in the mic, it was like, was that necessary? You could have waited for something like that instead of giving the chance to the guys to say something else. So just like, I don't like how he was like all him. And it's like, okay, I know you're here, I know you're hosting, but even as a host, you're not the center of attention. And that part of just it threw me off. It just remember see how he's on commentary, which I don't like anyway, because I feel like he talks more about himself than anything. No, it should be about the superstars that are here. But yeah, I could have done it without Booker in there.
Yeah, and I'll just say this about Booker T. He definitely has a very strong presence. He definitely has a mentality that when he walks in the room, he wants to be a focal point of that room, and I still think he has that mentality. However, I do think he has good intentions,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes those intentions need to be followed by the phrase, shut the fuck up. Like, but guys like Carmelo Hayes, Trick Williams by his side, Wesley are fully capable of riding this out. All that just needs is a little bit of direction,
Mm-hmm.
and that here's a contract, you sign. Here's a contract, you sign. Here's some parting words. Let everyone else fill in the drawing
Mm-hmm.
for the fans. You may have been the one that did the black and white, but you got to allow the talent in the ring to color it whatever way they want, because that's going to be the picture that the fans will either cheer or boo for. Um, so yeah, this match is slated for next week, so we are getting two great matches: Wendy Chu versus Cora Jade, and now the North American Championship between Carmelo Hayes and the champion Wes Lee, which I think is going to be an absolute clinic of just fast-paced action. Can't wait for this match. Um, yeah, and then we get another promo, and it seems like we weren't sure if this was about a person or about a drink, because we just see what appears to be bourbon being poured into a glass, and we kind of see in the background somebody resembling Dominic Dijakovic, Dominic Dijax. We don't know the name yet that he's going to be using, but we know he's coming back to NXT, and the way, more so the words he was using, kind of gave me vibes that if Scripps was a person, maybe it could be him. I still don't think that that's where I would put my money, but it was a little similar. Um, are you at the point now that you are tired of the promos for him to arrive and you just want to see him back, or are you enjoying these promos?
I mean, they're been good because I feel like it's been showing progress first with the burning out the mask to like now a little bit showing off his face and his body because we didn't get to see that before. I just would like to see if like a his name and like coming soon or like coming in 2 weeks, something of that effect, just to give us a timeline on when he's gonna come in, and then just give us a name because like you said, we don't know what to call him right now. We just keep calling him Dominic because that's what we used to calling him, but we don't know if that's gonna be it or not. But I feel like it's been showing progress in like the character of little bits and pieces. Because at first we just saw the mask being burned in, nothing else. So we're like, oh, because of the mask, we already know who it is, but we didn't get to see him. And then now we get to see him like this. But like even watching it, I thought it was a commercial for the alcohol up until I saw his face and it wasn't great. And then I realized the logo was on the corner, so I should have looked at that before. But it definitely like it took me a little bit like a moment for me to figure that out.
Yeah. Um, I'm assuming, and this is just an assumption, and I'm sure you've probably assumed the same thing, but I'm assuming that that deadline PLE is going to be probably the time and place where he arrives to NXT. In what capacity, we don't know, but I'm assuming that deadline is going to be a very,
Mhm.
very much a can't miss show in terms of NXT. So, very curious to see if that's the case. No confirmation on if that's a thing or not, just, you know, I guess, an assumption on my end. Then we kind of are gone to JBBJ coming out of the ring only to get, again, one of those one person comes out. We need a promo before we have the other people come out. And
Mm.
we go to the back. We see Odyssey Jones. We see uh, NS Snowflake, and we see Malik Blade. Odyssey flat out asks, I believe it's, is it an Ofe or is it Blade? No, Malik Blade, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He asks him why he wears all the sweater vests, which kind of curious myself, to be quite honest, because it's not a look you see a lot anymore, other than maybe
Mhm.
Carlton Banks on Fresh Prince. However, he does share a story saying that his dad and him always used to go to this store called Looking Good, and his dad would always have really nice suits. And he remembers the first thing that his dad bought him was a sweater vest. And before his dad passed away, or after his dad passed away, he noticed that there was a bunch of sweater vests collected. So now he wears them as a tribute and as kind of a symbol of love towards his father. Because of that, I will never make fun of the sweater vests looking on him at all. And because of that, I now look at him a lot more because there's an emotional reason, an attachment to why something simple like a sweater vest means the world to him. So I can appreciate that segment. I just wish it wasn't in between entrances. But yeah, I like this. I have a lot of room for this trio that we're forming, and I really hope one day we can, be talking about a tag team championship win for Inofe and Blade. I'm going to say this: they need a tag name.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Now that we are remembering of the name Odyssey Jones, because we totally both forgot his name when he pulled up after they lost their tag team title match. Just take us through your opinions on his involvement with the team and kind of how they're progressing since that championship defeat.
I like that him asking that question because I feel like it kind of shows that he's getting familiar with the guys, like he doesn't know them that well. He's asking those like little questions of like when you see the sweater vest, that's the first question you think about when you see Blade. So it's nice to see him asking him, just kind of a way to introduce himself to the person and getting to know that person. And this is one of those things that I said from the beginning. I wish I would tell you these things when they debut or like the first couple of weeks, because it kind of draws you into them as a character, and you have that attention. It's like, oh, I like that. So just like I can feel that emotional connection with him to begin with. But it's like I feel like it's been how many months since they've been in NXT and they come tell us now about this. It seemed kind of random at
Yeah.
the same time. I don't know if that was my thought, but when it came to the timing, but overall, I wonder if maybe the next couple of weeks they kind of hang out and get to know each other. So that's what the vibe it gave me when they were chatting backstage. But yeah, it just seemed like I like how we were going like, oh, we're enjoying wrestling, and then they got emotional, and then we went back to the wrestling part. So just it felt like at the same time, just I didn't want to hear this while I'm like watching wrestling. I just want to cry when I hear it as well. So just, but yeah, I like overall I liked it though. It's nice to see like the guys kind of getting to know each other and getting that vibes from each other, and it's like getting familiar as hopefully as a trio.
Who would have thought 3 grown men talking about their feelings can be powerful stuff on a TV? Yeah, and you know what? If next week comes and there's a tag match and Odyssey Jones is walking them out and they're all wearing sweater vests, I would actually
Oh my
think that would be pretty
god!
cool, right?
Yeah,
So yeah, and this kind of now gets us to the tag match because out we see Joe Gacy, Dyad, Ava Rain. We see Schism come out, JBBJ against Dyad, and they put on a pretty good tag match actually. And really like this match. Pretty back and forth. Very standard match. I mean, you got your 4 steps. I mean, you got JBBJ kind of coming out right out of the gates, looking good. Then we kind of see Daya kind of put the stops into him, a little back and forth. And then all of a sudden we see one Kiana James just comes out, kind of wants to get in the grill. uh, and then that kind of leads to some back and forth, some pushing, and I believe she got smacked, by the way, but went right into the arms of was it Brooks Jensen? Yeah, Jensen.
yeah.
I always forget who is what, and I'm very happy, by the way, that they have Dyad has new gear like across the
Mm-hmm.
board. So
Yeah.
Gacy had his gear, and then now we see that. And now that I remember which one Fowler is, by the way, like you just see Fowler right on the hiney right there. So it's like, all right, cool. I now know
Hmm.
because of that visual of just like the graphics. Briggs is Big Jensen is Touche.
Yeah.
However, Jensen got a girl on his lap. Briggs didn't, so who's the dumbass? I don't know. But needless to say, that creates that distraction for Dyad that they needed to pick up the win. It looked like the finish as we know it. I didn't know if this is a thing because they hit a double kind of code breaker, and usually one would hit a code breaker, come out kind of like an elevated tombstone in a way. Um, so it's interesting to see if that's something they're going to be using forward or moving forward. Maybe these guys messed up and did something different. I don't know. Very curious on this, but kind of thoughts on the development aspect of the Kiana James situation, but also the fact that now Dyad gets a win, Schism still rolling through like they have been since I believe Joe Gacy's losing to Braun Breaker. It's kind of like this is what the Judgment Day should have been right off the gates.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Anyway, your kind of thoughts on the stag match?
Yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. There was a part that I thought was really, I don't want to say turning point, but sort of in a way, when Jagger did the dive onto Jensen and the way he just hit him towards the commentary table. The timing of it, I think, was really enjoyable to just see visually. And I like the aspect of like we get Ava protecting Fowler, I believe it was at the moment. And it just shows you what same thing she did with Gacy last week. She was that factor that came to assist as well, and she didn't mind getting into the fire just for the guys to get that victory as well before everything happened. I just didn't understand the part with Kiana because she offered Fallon money for the building for the bar. She refused it. So why do you have to punch her for that? Okay, it's like that part of it was I don't know. They just didn't see it. Just seemed. I don't think it's a reason for that in a way. But Jensen, happy for you. You know, getting that girl hopefully soon. Finally, perhaps. I hope. Um, but yeah, I feel like it just. I feel like it shows really, and like I was telling you while we were watching it, even though they all look so different, I love how Schism just looks so uniform when they're standing next to each other,
Yeah.
doing their pose before or even after the match as well. So just like overall, everything was well done for me. I just wish the match had lot more time because I was enjoying it, and I feel like it ended. It felt kind of ended kind of quickly in a way between the Ava distraction and then the Kiana distraction as well. So I feel like that took away time from it. But other than that, I enjoyed it, and I love every aspect that we got and everything that happened there.
Yeah. Are you kind of at that point now where you're kind of like, okay, let's kind of just step on the brakes of all of these promos and just give maybe 5 minutes more to this match or this match, things like that, just to have a little bit more flow to the matches themselves? Because it definitely felt like the main event was rushed. All right. Or I
Yeah.
thought it was. But it would have been nice to let a couple things breathe a little bit. And again, maybe if the Zoe Stark interview was a little bit uh, retracted in the sense of how long that took, maybe we could have saw a little bit more breathing room for some of these matches. Are you in that opinion that there should be maybe less promos right now and kind of a couple long matches, especially if you only have like 3 or 4 like we did tonight?
Yeah, because I thought about it before we started watching. Just we only had 2 matches that were advertised before the show started, and I feel like that Zoe promo you could have had it next week, and you kind of build up anticipation of what her answer was going to be to the Nikita situation. So you could have waited a whole week for that, and like you have 2 title matches involved. Yeah, the guys like they look like they got decent time, but the main event, just what I told you, I looked at the time and I said, look, it's 9:50, so the girls are probably going to get 15 minutes the most, perhaps, more or less. So just like I feel like they could have more time, especially for a match of that stipulation and what the match meant or for the storyline. So I think like those little promos here and there, like I said, put them digital exclusives, put them on YouTube, put them on Twitter, get the fans going on social media, chatting about the show as it's happening. And like the Zoe one could have waited till next week at least, and you could have had more time for the matches that were really a highlight into the show tonight.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I wonder if maybe that's something we'll see kind of down the road. Um, but I don't know because again, like when we're talking about that scripts, we have no idea if it's even referring to somebody else, and we will eventually get to that um, momentarily. But I do feel that maybe we can then just have a little bit more momentum in the show, and I think that's maybe something that we can add is a little bit more momentum in the show for now. But I also want to kind of go back to a previous comment that before we get to that, we'll just get to Ed's comment. I'm not sure HBK and NXT trust Mandy to go 20 plus minutes. You know what? The only way you'll know if this is something that you want to see or should be a thing is at least give it the opportunity. And if it fails, then at least you have some clarification on uh, whether or not this is something you can do. But it also felt, again, in this tag match that the tag match itself could have benefited with a little bit more time too. I don't but it was a good match nonetheless. So it was like I like to call it was a good TV match. So if they were to build that into a bigger show or like a PLE kind of a thing like that, and they were getting that time where they didn't have the TV time limits in the sense of commercial breaks and stuff like that, you might even see a little bit more there. But yeah, I want to get back to this old comment that we had from Barry Monkey 99. Hello, everyone. Just waiting to see if anyone can explain the new match format idea. And that's kind of where we're at right now because we now get to the Shawn Michaels statement. And I don't know about you, but I was expecting him to hit the ring. I thought the fans were going to get really motivated when he heard that music. But we didn't. We just had him kind of sitting in front of not a screen, but like just in a room, kind of maybe like in an office, kind of saying that they're introducing a new match format, and it's going to start at Deadline, and it's called the Iron Survivor Challenge. So what this match is a 25-minute match, and we're going to have one for both the men and the women, and it's going to have 5 people in this match. 2 men or 2 women will start. Every 5 minutes, someone else will enter the match. What you'll get is a point for every offensive fall, whether that's pin, submission, disqualification. If it benefits you, you will get a point. And the object of this match is to have the most points at the end of the 25 minutes. However, if you're the one person that was pinned, submitted, or you cause a disqualification, you will go to what they call a penalty box for 90 seconds. So you're taking yourself out of the match, taking yourself out of a way to actually gain a point. Because again, the object of the match is to get as many points at the end of the 25 minutes. So yeah, 2 men start. At the 5 minutes, we'll have 3. At the 10 minute, we'll have 4. At the 15, we'll have 5. So we'll actually have 10 minutes where everyone is in the ring. I know earlier I said men, also women, because the winner of this match will receive a title shot to either the men's NXT championship or the women's NXT championship. So yeah, I wonder if he's found one in Jeff Jarrett's old notebook in the hot seat podcast coming in. I think the new match format is like championship scramble and a king and queen of the mountain mixed in. And then Ed coming in. So it's like Iron Man, King of the Mountain. I'm going to say this. It's basically like Iron Man match meets King of the Mountain means this aspect of War Games where you start with 2 and you end up adding more as time goes on meets a scramble match. So if they all went to a party and got wasted and then had too much fun in a bedroom, the end product will be known as the Iron Survivor Challenge. I hope I did a good job explaining that.
You did. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. But yeah, very curious to see kind of how this is played out. It seems like there was a lot more definitive explanation on the rules, but it's really hard to get a bad explanation when you have one of the greatest performers of all time kind of running the show and doing it. So in Shawn Michaels, I trust that we're going to get a good product here. And I'm very curious to see not only who is going to be the participants, as he did say and clarify that they will be kind of announced later on.
Mhm.
We got tabbed. I don't know if we got either way, but welcome to the chat, Bam and Top. Hopefully I said that name right. But yeah, welcome. We're talking some NXT. But yeah, no, your just thoughts on this matchup that we have coming up, and again, making this show called Deadline a must watch.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that it gives you a match that at least will be 25 minutes for the guys and girls, so at least it'll be lengthy. We get to enjoy it. 5 people, I feel like it's a good way to give an opportunity to somebody. And it's just like I told you, I was thinking already, all the people that mentioned Braun's name last week when it comes to challenging him. So I thought, what can a chamber for NXT perhaps with everybody coming in here that's targeting Braun in the championship? So this was an interesting take. I was unexpecting something like this. I feel like at first it seems like a lot of instructions, but when you read it off and you actually listen to him, it does make sense the way he explains it. And I love the concept. I love my King of the Mountain. My Queen of the Mountain was really well done as well. So I like the concept, and I think it'll be interesting to see like who they pick and who they build up to be a part of this match. But overall, I see people like perhaps Indy joining it, and Roxanne as well. But yeah, I think it's interesting the way they're doing. It's pretty cool, and I feel like it gives us a whole 25 minutes from each person, which is not bad. Plus the entrances, it basically would take more or less an hour of the show for Deadline. So I think that would be interesting to watch as well.
Yeah, all I know is I'm getting very much excited for Deadline. It's going to be one hell of a show. Very curious to see who not only was going to be in that match, but what the other matches are, because I do think Deadline is probably going to be the new takeover in this version of NXT. We get to another match, and then I'm going to get to the scripts thing after, and that is Tatum Paxley against Indy Hartwell, which not exactly a match I was expecting to see, but I kind of enjoyed it, and I really thought that this was a pretty decent decision to put these two together. Not that I was exactly expecting kind of two baby faces like this there, but I mean, I can also see kind of the direction of maybe turning Indy Hartwell down the line.
Mhm.
But yeah, just kind of take us through like I know you're a giant Indy Hartwell supporter, so she ends up picking up the win by using the face mask of Tatum Paxley to her advantage. Do you like, do you dislike, or what stood out for you with this match, even though they didn't get a heck of a lot of time?
Yeah, this is the other match that I was thinking about that they didn't get the time I hoped it would. It would get. But again, it's been happening for the last couple of weeks. They've been building Indy very well, which I'm enjoying to see that she has some kind of direction to her as well and her character. I knew it was coming because of the Twitter announcement, but I feel like it's one of those matches they should have announced like officially. But either way, it's just nice to see Indy getting some kind of used to her character. So I'm glad that it happened. Um, yeah, other than that, I found it strange like Ivy just taking the mask and not even trying to help her friend out. But I guess their faces, so that's probably why. But overall, I enjoyed it. I just wish I would have had more time just at the tag match. I feel like just when you get in like the feel for both of them and the match just ended, unfortunately. But like I said, it's a way to build up Indy towards that Survivor match.
Yeah. And I think this is a great thing, having that kind of fresh face that could be a major player in a match like this. And as you said, like right after, because her and Roxanne kind of have that little thing going. Um, and she basically, yeah, again, said if she has to break somebody's nose to, win a match and stuff like that, she's going to do it. So kind of a newfound attitude with Indy Hartwell, and I dig it because it is separating herself from anything she's done And if the plan is not to bring her up and go back to something with either anybody from the way or with Dexter Loomis right now, I can get behind this. I can get behind Indy Hartwell with this new attitude and kind of this new kind of I see blood and I like it kind of a mentality, because this gives us layers to Indy Hartwell. And right now, this is a great thing for the women's division in NXT, because at some point you are going to have to pass the torch from Mandy Rose. You're going to have to pass the torch from the Alba Fires. And who's going to step up right now? So, very much looking like we could have Roxana Perez, Cora Jade, Indy Hartwell, maybe even Zoe Stark and Nikita Lyons. That's what I'm going to assume is my early prediction for this match. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody like Wendy Chu, who, given the pun, not someone you wanted to sleep on when it comes to an opportunity like this.
Mhm.
And then we kind of get what seems to be more. I don't know. I don't want to say it's a final one, but we get another Scripps promo. And before we get into what it says, because I know you're going to have this, the video that we see in the background indicates that Scripps has now entered the building and has a vantage point like a fan and sees everything around. But near the end, it's then flying out like the drone vision of coming back out
Mhm.
the building, which kind of made me think about something. But before I get to that, we'll get to what it says, and then we'll get to your thoughts on this promo and if it has changed an opinion of what we've talked about in weeks prior.
Yeah. I had to go back to the video to type everything. But it says your cameras couldn't catch me. I got past your guards with ease. Now that I'm here, everything after this will only be a breeze. Because I'm as fast as lightning, smarter than you think. Moves are incredible. You miss it if you blink. Next week you will see that you and I aren't the same. So tell me, who's first to play a little game? Sincerely, Scripps. I feel like it goes back to also. I think it was the first promo from the first vignette we got. They said something about soliloquy, and they've been rhyming a lot of their promos and the text that we've gotten so far. Um, I feel like I'm torn now about what it is or who it is, because they said we'll see next week, and there's like little things like when they say little game, it makes me think of Triple H as well. So I thought that was interesting, and that part of like the cameras couldn't catch me, just as we're getting the point of view from a fan. Um, and even he's like, well, I pass your guards with ease, so they make it seem like it's just somebody that came into the arena, and then they left. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn about it after what we said last week, but I'm sticking with it for the moment because I'm still interested in what's going on. I think it's something different, and the point of view that we got was also different from the building when it was leaving out. So that was interesting as well.
Yeah, and kind of the vision of flying away from the
Mhm.
PC kind of through this idea that perhaps maybe NXT is moving away from the Performance Center as their venue to run their weekly show. Maybe there's something else. Maybe, like as we said kind of last week, and a change as we see it, but maybe it's just not a change with the structure within maybe it's a completely a shift in the visual as we know NXT right now, because it's kind of been something similar for a while now. So eventually things are going to change there. Eventually things are going to open up, and maybe this is a reason to that, because we all know that the move was for the pandemic times,
Mhm.
but maybe they have outgrown that, and maybe there are more fans that are just seething at their teeth to get into the audience of NXT. So I don't know. Perhaps this is a big change in that way, but maybe they're also moving. Scripps is that change as well moving out. I don't know. I'm very curious on this, because as as we kind of talk about this, we have no idea what Scripps is, whether it's a person, whether it's something else. At saying back to Full Sail, absolutely. Where it all begins again, right? So I don't know. But yeah, I'd be excited. I want to see that that atmosphere that
Mhm.
NXT had before come back, because that atmosphere was absolutely amazing. I know you've been in that
Mhm.
atmosphere before. Do you want to just like say just let us like let everyone who maybe hasn't experienced that live kind of what's it like?
Oof. I feel like from obviously I haven't been there in a while, so I always see it like even when it came to like the takeovers. It's one of those things like I noticed it was even though you could see the same type of people versus now, I feel like you don't see the same fans in the arena, which is the part that I like because it's been different in that aspect. But it's one of those like whenever the taping was done, people will go and buy tickets for the next one right there at the box office. So it's just like it tells you like people were passionate enough to like want to come back right away and get that ticket for the next one, even as they announced it before the show will even start. And I feel like to me it showed a lot more people than what we see here as well. So maybe that could be that why the change is happening. There was always a big line to get in, so if you didn't have tickets, it was hard to come in to the event. But I feel like it was always they could fill up a lot more people because if you go, for example, and watch the Iron Woman match between Sasha and Bailey, that's what it was like for me because I was there in the audience and I was at the top of the bleachers. And obviously, it doesn't matter where you're at, you still get a good view, but it filled up more people than what they have now. So you can kind of see that way, like the difference in what it looks like in the audience, at least.
Yeah, and I mean, I just know from watching it on TV all the time, like it was just very infectious of an atmosphere, and it's just like you're like one day, okay, gotta check this out because it just seems like something that, as a wrestling fan, I have to be a part of just once. So, uh, nothing but jealousy that you've got to experience it, but hopefully one day it comes back, and the opportunity presents itself again. Um, Speaking of an opportunity that presents itself again, the women's championship of NXT is now on the line as we geared into the main event as Alba Fire takes on Mandy Rose in a last woman standing match. And before I put on any opinions, Astrid, I'm going to go straight to you. You talk us through this match. You have the reins.
This is one of those that I wish I've got more time because I was getting into it and then it just ended the way it did. But I love the way the girls just went all around that area in the ring. I feel like they could have gone more towards the top, but I like how they used the surrounding areas in the ring. They were not afraid to use anything they found under the ring either. Um, but yeah, I just like feel like the way it was. I feel like the story with Mandy and Alba should have been main event a while ago. So at the same time, I'm glad they were the main event this time around. And yeah, I feel like it was a good match. They had a good back and forth, and it was I just love the way they used their tools. Like there was a part where I would just put her in a submission while she had the tool as well, around Mandy's knee, and Mandy using the ladder to like squash Alba to the barricade as well. And even the commentary table, I feel like they used a little bit of everything, which they were not afraid to use that, which I'm glad they didn't. But yeah, towards the ending, we just had somebody came in out of nowhere and just did the little splash um, to Alba Fire, and yeah, Alba lost unfortunately. Sorry, Ed, I didn't want Mandy to win this one again either. I was hoping this will be it. And yeah, just like I told you, I realized that it was like around 9:50 when the match was starting, so I knew they were not gonna get a lot of time, which is the unfortunate part for me. But other than that, it was well done and it delivered for me and it was fun to watch. And just at this point, who's gonna dethrone Mandy? I don't know now.
Yeah, a lot to take in on that because with the addition of Isla Dawn, it's amazing because I am already gearing up for an Isla Dawn Alba Fire feud in some way, shape, or form. Like, don't get me
Mhm.
wrong, that is going to be great, and I can't wait to see it. But I'm like you, why couldn't have that been something that we saw after perhaps a championship win, and that could have been something there. There has to be an end game here with Mandy Rose's championship reign. Um, I know Ed wants this to continue forever. He probably wants Nikita Lyons in there in some shape, way, or form. But yeah, and no, and that's kind of it. Like, given the fact that we'll kind of go to this, going to 10:30 or so would have been cool. Yeah, we kind of had hopes for that, and that's
Mhm.
exactly why we pushed the show back 10 minutes just in case it it did, but uh, and also saying Isla Dawn will shine very well on NXT. Yeah,
Mm.
I agree, and I think this is going to be very interesting of a dynamic. But maybe we see a Roxana Perez, kind of be that next person. I'm very
Mm.
much intrigued now who that next person is because who's to
Mhm.
say? And who's to say it's even an NXT competitor? Maybe it's somebody coming back to NXT in some way, shape, or form. I don't know. All we do know is that still your reigning NXT champion is Mandy Rose, and that streak continues
Yeah.
despite not having any one of her toxic attraction girls with her. Barry Monkey 99 coming in. Mandy has come a long way since dating Otis. Oh yeah. Sorry, I had to. But I mean, again, talk about a resurge of Mandy Rose, talking about an evolution of
Mhm.
Mandy Rose, talking about a decision that was clearly the best decision to make. Mandy Rose coming to NXT 2.0 at the time to become a bigger in ring competitor. I mean, what a decision that was. She has now just grown
Mhm.
substantially to the point that if she is to go back to Raw or SmackDown, the perception and the visual of Mandy Rose is going to change tenfold from the average audience member. So, congratulations, Mandy Rose, because even though we don't want to see her champion anymore, you have done something amazing
Yeah.
and congratulations because this has probably been the best 360 turn from someone since probably Trish Stratus.
Yeah. And I also wanted to point out, because I forgot to point this out earlier, in the Tatum and Indy match, before the match started, we had the technical difficulty screen, which made me wonder
Yes.
what was happening. And at the end, when Isla Dawn is on top of the ladder still after everything, you can see the screens having the technical difficulties in the background. So I've wondered if it was connected to her, and if it was because of her, if it was something else. I'm not sure. So I guess we'll see if it's part of like her gimmick or her entrance in some type of way moving on. And I'm glad it was her in a way, because we've been talking about her, like Isla being part of NXT for weeks now. Even thinking of her being that member of Schism that ended up being Ava Rain as well. So just like something that we expected her to come sooner or later. So I'm glad she's here now as well. And it just adds another layer to the women's division in NXT. That's been great so far.
Yeah. So yeah, another great reason to tune in next week for NXT. Um, Isla Dawn versus Indy or a team? Question mark. You know what? Let's see how this progresses because right now I'm totally fair for both, but I want to see both Indy and Isla kind of have their own kind of spotlight for before we even talk about that. Maybe like a power trip, kind of like what Triple H and Stone Cold were back in the day. I can do something like that, but yeah, time will tell. And this kind of takes us to the end of the show. So without wasting any time, Astrid, what is your natural star rating of this week's edition of NXT?
Oof. I'm stuck between like a 2.5 out of 3. Yeah, sorry. I know you're probably higher than mine.
That first hour really soured you, didn't it? Um, well, there you have it. That was Astrid's natural star rating of the episode of NXT. Let us know in the comments what you would give tonight's episode of NXT a star rating out of 5. Um, that's where we're going with because it's either that or you really didn't like this episode. But
Mm.
yeah, so without kind of going into much more, Astrid, what do you have coming up and where can people find you?
You can find me on my Twitter, Astrid Pizarro. It's there, and my Instagram, Astrid Pizarro 20. Friday, 6 p.m. Premiering the third episode of Ladies Fashion Showcase with Mel. We have Kayla J as a special guest, and we talk about the evolution of the four horsewomen. And being that Kayla's a huge fan, we thought that she was the right person to join us for this episode. It was kind of something like a random topic, but it's something we wanted to chat about, as we wanted to just reflect back on how much ladies have grown over the years since their NXT days. So that was an interesting talk. It's a long episode because we couldn't stop talking about it, but it was pretty nice to chat about a little bit of everything with Kayla, who knows a lot about the horsewomen that I found out. But I love how passionate she is about it too. So yeah, and that will be for YouTube, and then the audio will be live on Sunday on your podcast platforms. And hopefully, if I got it correctly, I will be doing an interview on Women's Wrestling Talk on Monday evening. So watch out on my socials for that. Those are your breaking news for tonight.
All right, and there you have it. And we'll get to this one last comment. I say 4 out of 5. I mostly enjoyed it and didn't walk off to make something to eat. Well, there you go. Appetite for Destruction follows your experience of NXT today, so that's good to know. And as for me, you can follow me on the Twitter at Chris Perish, Instagram at Chris.Perish, at Twitch, the Chris Perish, where some of you did, and I appreciate it. As you saw, both Astrid and I were online on our Twitches, and we both rated our local establishment, because you can always find us at our local establishment, as I, every Sunday, co-host Busting Out with my brunch busting brother Bobby Munson every Sunday. And then again, every Tuesday, we are here taking over at about 10:10 Eastern, 8:10 Mountain. And then every Monday night, you can also see me over at Turnbuckle Studio and my Twitch as well, sometimes watching and reacting as we do a watch along to Monday Night Raw. So that going as well. And then you can also go to my YouTube / Chris Perish. Very important you add the @ logo, kind of like Twitter, in that way. So yeah, needless to say, that is what we have going on. I know we have a video. I'm going to play that before the raid, so just check out what our local establishment has going on for the remainder of this video.
To me, like a voice inside my head. It's like a fight back and I'll tweet it. Falling, frustrated, intoxicated. I know I'm losing myself. I can't take it anymore. But I'm not done. I'm not done. I won't give up until the end. But I won't fall. I'll stand away.
And that is what we have going on this week for our local establishment. And as this is coming up, following taking over, show him love and support as you show us, because that is the OLE way, and we rating him momentarily. So for everyone, we just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to watch us react to NXT. We appreciate it. And in about 7 seconds, you'll be directed to Heel Kevin. So go say hi and show him the OLE way.